Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Premier Sim Gaming League's YouTube channel. Now it is the turn of the PS4 F7 League to take centre stage here for round 8 at the Marina Bay Street Circuit for the Singapore Grand Prix. My name is Jake and I hope you're all having a great day, and I'm sure we're in for another captivating race here in this very unpredictable tier where we have already seen 6 different winners in our first 7 races. Before we get stuck into tonight's action, let's have a quick look back at last week's race around Sochi, as Bryn took a hugely impressive win, comfortably holding off Tom AJ, who took second, and Nick Mania, who claimed his first podium of the season in third. Our championship contenders, Morgan and Jonis, claimed valuable points in fourth and fifth, with Felix's run of podiums coming to an end as he could only manage 10th, which did put a slight dent in his championship lead. Speaking of the championship coming into tonight's race, Felix still has a 12-point lead over Morgan, who has now jumped above reigning champion Jonis, who drops to third. We've then got Free Gloves and Tim Mats completing the top 5, and with a good result here, we can't count those two out either. We've got 18 drivers here tonight, and of course the one noticeable absentee that you will notice straight away is Felix, who cannot race this evening, so this is an ideal opportunity for the chasing pack to try and close in as we head now into the business end of the season. As we just start into qualifying now, Furry Lando is the first driver out there, so we'll go on board with him. In terms of the Constructors' Championship quickly as well, we've got Ferrari, who currently hold a 9-point advantage over Red Bull, with Williams still in third, despite the fact that Paco Suarez has yet to pick up a single point. All the point scoring has been done by his teammate Felix, with Racing Point close behind as well in fourth, so still plenty of competition in terms of the Constructors' battle right now. Before we get stuck into qualifying, let's give you a little background about the venue for tonight's race. The Marina Bay Street Circuit was the first race to be held at night back in 2008 and has become the ultimate test of endurance since, with a race regularly hitting the 2-hour time limit. This 3.14 mile circuit is one of the few counterclockwise tracks on the calendar and features 23 turns with 14 to the left and 9 to the right, and a lap record in 2018 actually set by Kevin Magnussen on a 141.9. Slightly surprising one, that one. Who will triumph around the Marina Bay streets tonight in F7 and close in on Felix, who could do nothing to protect his championship lead tonight, as Felix starts his lap of the circuit then on the medium compound tyres, so not going for the ultimate tyre straight away, as he heads now down the straight. Little kick here. This is a decent spot for overtaking in the race, of course. This isn't a track where overtaking is commonly known, but there are a few areas which it can be done, and certainly if you've got a tyre or pace advantage, it's definitely possible. This tricky little section coming up, and now coming up to the bit where the Singapore Sling used to be, but it's since been replaced by what I think is actually a slightly inferior section. A bit missed the effects a bit there. Now going into the hairpin very easily to lock up into that hairpin, leading onto the straight, and now down the next DRS straight and heading into this very technical final sector. I mean, most of this lap is fairly technical anyway, but this last sector especially so, and it is very much a case of just follow the car in front through this part of the track, overtaking pretty much next to impossible unless the driver in front makes an error. Now heading round the final couple of turns now, up towards turn 22 and turn 23, the final couple of left-handers. Easy to go wide through here, but he doesn't, and Furry Lando sets the opening benchmark on a 1:34.9, but that should be beaten just due to the fact of the tyres he was on. What's Tom AJ up to on his lap? He's just coming up across the line now, looking to build on some positive momentum after getting second place last time out, and he goes quicker by 0.3 of a second. Free gloves instantly beats that. And let's follow Paco Suarez, hoping for better. This just hasn't been his season so far, but maybe this is a sort of track where his luck could turn. Heading towards the end of Sector 2 now, he's got a car just in front of him, which is a Ferrari. Hopefully it won't get in the way or anything. No, Morgan pulls to the side, he's on his outlap. And Ugi now goes quickest on a 34.1, still no one yet into the 33. That actually wasn't a terrible lap from Furlando on the mediums, all things considered. What can Paco do then up to the line? Looks a bit nervous on turning there. Of course, these are just the opening benchmark times, and that's well wide, and that's going to be definitely invalidated, and indeed it is. As Tiernar Jonas takes the leading time on a 34.0. Let's follow Dimsky now in the Mercedes. His teammate Marcus is actually using the pad for this evening's race, which isn't something he usually does, but he still expects to be fairly quick. He's talking about getting into the low 33s as a personal best, so definitely he could get in amongst it. What's his teammate got now? He's coming through the final part of the lap. Oh, slight contact there against the outside of a wall. Don't think that'll affect his car too much, but it might have alerted him a little bit. Up to the line Dimsky goes, and it's good enough for 4th place right now. Let's ride on board with Morgan. Let's not, because he's back in the pits, weirdly. I was about to say, I was interested to see what he could do, but he's ultimately decided not to go for a lap for one reason or another. Oh, as his teammate goes into the wall. Turned into early. I don't think he was on a lap, so that was a slightly odd one. There as he went through turn 18, just clipped the inside wall at turn 18. It's one of those you see quite often, so it's not an uncommon error, that one. And thankfully, at least for him, he's already done a lap and he's on an out lap as Zero, Vapor Zero goes up to 5th place. He's now known as Zero AK, but it is still the same driver. Not a bad lap. And let's go back with Morgan, who's out there on an out lap on softs. There's a few other drivers out there on 2 on out laps, but they're all on medium tyres. We'll follow Brynner, see what he can do. A lot of drivers opting for medium tyres in qualifying at the start, maybe just looking to get their up to grips with the circuit. Perhaps I would not be surprised. What can Bryn do here? He's already invalidated his lap, unfortunately, so that will be his lap over. His teammate, though, as ever, the 2 Red Bulls staying pretty close together on the circuit. I believe these two communicate with each other through the race, and it's clear to see when you see them so close on track. And they're both even running the medium tyres as well, so interesting strategy at the moment, and we'll see what Tim Matz can do around this lap then. 5th place in the championship, not a bad season from him, definite improvements from season 26 when he was also in the F7 tier. Still maybe just lacking that little bit of top end pace to get right with the top of the championship, but definitely got more consistent over the course of this season, and could, with a great result here tonight, put himself firmly into championship contention. I think all the drivers here will look at this as an opportunity, with Felix being absent, to maybe go on a late championship charge. Felix himself has admitted this is a race he is gutted to be missing, because he feels like he would have been able to do well here. But there's nothing he can do except sit back and watch and hope that his nearest rivals in the championship don't score too heavily, as Tim Matz goes up to the line on a 34.6. and goes up to P6. Let's find out what Morgan can do. A lot of people suggesting he could be very quick in the Ferrari. We usually know how quick he is, but looks like he might have a really good flow around this Singapore circuit. Let's follow him, shall we, as he dives into the hairpin. Game Freaker keeps well out of the way now as he goes down the following DRS straight, and now getting ready to approach this final sector. Such a crucial part to the lap, really, where time can be won and lost as he goes through turns 16 and 17. There's a lot of traffic out there, has to be said, and Ugi Azim is on an outlap and just isn't getting out of the way right now, but he has done at last. But that may have affected Morgan's lap time as Furry Lando goes on to provisional pole. But how long will that be for? Because Morgan's going round the final corner now to go quickest by half a second. So despite being held up by Ugi Azim, I think he might have lost a tenth or two during that part of the lap, but he still goes quickest. And how? That's a really good, strong lap, and that's going to take some beating. No improvements from Free Gloves. He's invalidated his latest effort. Let's see if I can find someone who's a bit further on into their lap. We're going to follow the Ferrari of TB Sen. We saw his an effort he had earlier as he clips the wall again. So a few little moments here for the Ferrari driver, not quite dialed in as he would have liked. Of course, you do want to get quite close to the walls here, but there is a line that you don't want to cross, as he then locks up and runs deep into the hairpin, and he backs out of the lap. So ultimately opting to back out of that lap, realising it wasn't going to do anything for him. Is now on board with Jonas through the final, or current to the end of sector 2. He's got Paco Suarez just in front of him, who's let him through. He's a tenth up on his previous best, but still not really all that close to Morgan. We'll see what he can do through his final sector. And if Felix is watching, which I don't know if he will be or not, but he probably won't like to see how his qualifying session is going so far. His two main rounds in the championship looking very on it very quickly, and Jonas could be about to put himself back onto the front row of the grid. Across the line he does. He goes a couple of attempts slower than Morgan and pops it back onto the front row of the grid as Game Freak has gone 5th and Ugi goes up to 3rd. So a couple of improvements there. Trying to see if there's anyone else on a lap. I'm not too sure. I think at the moment everyone's sort of on our laps. I don't know if Bryn's going for a lap. Follow him just in case he is. Let's have a look at his telemetry. Not too sure on this one, but we'll just follow him around because I don't think there's too many drivers out there at the moment who are going for fast laps. It's very much a one lap and then get back into the pits thing around here. Could explain why a few drivers went for the medium tyre early on. Just basically about saving tyres, as Paco has retired from qualifying. It looks like he's crashed. Where is that? That's a very odd place to crash. Looks like it's in that sort of mini straight, really, between turns 8 and 9, I believe that is. Or turns 9 and 10, sorry. That's an odd place to crash, and that's a real blow for him. Just hasn't gone to his way this season, as Bryn does a very nice lap on medium tyres to go 5th. He was very much pushing on that lap, and what an effort that is. Nicely done from Bryn, and that's gonna make a few people sit up and take note. Bryn has been improving steadily all season, and he took a dominating win last week in Russia, and he's looking solid again here. If that pace anything to go by, he now needs to get back to the pits and fit on a set of softs, and we'll see what he can do on those as Zara heads through the middle part of the lap in the Racing Point, very deep into the hairpin. It'll be interesting to see how his lap time's coming along when he gets to the second sector mark. Wow, he's half a second up despite that, so he's looking very good here to put it somewhere close to his teammate. Both Racing Points looking in fine fettle so far. Oh, a bit untidy, I thought, through there. Not quite optimum. Just trying not to run over the track limits and lose the lap time. Here we go, then Vapor's over around the final few corners. He just kept it within the one. What a lap that is! Fair play, he recovered that very nicely for the rest of that last sector and goes up to second on a 33.6, just a 10th off pole position. That's a great effort from Zero. Change your PSN name and perhaps a change of fortunes as well. Great lap there from him. We got Dimsky out on a lap, I believe we have. We're going to follow him round now. He's half a second down. I think he's already backed out of the lap, unfortunately. So we won't be seeing any improvement from him. Hulkenberger's invalidated. What's Prenz up to? Just going up to turns 22 and 23 now. It's looking like it's going to be his first lap, but it's only good enough for 12th right now. Tim Matz, let's follow him round. He's a 10th up through sector 1. I think he did that lap time on mediums though, so he should be expected to improve here. Now coming up to turn 10, flick it in. Got to make sure you get the flow of his section exactly right. He now goes under the Anderson Bridge and brakes for the hairpin of turn 13. So crucial to get the right exit now onto the straight and preparing your car for this final sector. Is a couple of attempts up, but maybe would have been expected to find a little bit more time on this lap. This probably will be his only effort left in qualifying now, because I don't think he'll be able to get a second lap out of those soft tyres. Going through final sector. Oh, missed the apex there quite badly. Doesn't look at one without Red Bull, I have to say. And Zero's crashed out the session, so his session is over and Tim Matz has backed out of the lap. So that's his qualifying session done, and he is not going to improve. What's TB Sen up to in the Ferrari? Had a difficult qualifying session so far, but this is the lap that really counts for him. Braking for the hairpin. That looked very nice indeed, actually. A lot smoother than what we've seen from a few others. Dimsky's session is over, and TB Sen is finding a lot of more time. If he can keep this going, he should be able to put himself somewhere in the top 10. Struggling on the throttle slightly there. Bando Biz's qualifying session's over, so is Hulkenberg's. A lot of drivers not doing lap times in this qualifying session, which is something we haven't seen at previous races. Maybe going for different strategies around this track. TB Sen across the line he goes. It's only good enough for P11. Gotta say, I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with that. As Jonas is on a better lap, he's through sector 2 and he's a couple of attempts up. This could take provisional pole away from his championship rival Morgan if he can hook this last sector up. Through the last few corners now, all running it right up to the wall. It's like he was just struggling for grip slightly there as he goes up to the line, and he goes second. Not quite enough for pole. Not quite enough for pole on this occasion. Free Gloves is on a best through sector 2. We've got a lot of drivers out there on laps right now as Game Freaker goes up to 4th into the 33s. And I believe we've got, is that Powdy about to do a lap? Yeah, he goes into 15th, just getting a lap time on the board, I reckon, on that one. What's Free Gloves going to do across the line? Morgan's right behind him. We'll switch over to him quickly as Free Gloves goes across the line and goes up to 4th. Great effort indeed. Can Morgan find any more time? Oh yes he can, a 1:33.1. I suggested he might have lost time behind Oogie beforehand, and that would definitely suggest that he did, because that is an absolutely blinding effort to move 4/10 clear at the front. And Bryn, I think he was on course to improve there, but he's opted to go into the pits as Furry Lando moves up to 6th right at the death. And I believe that's everyone's lap times done. And that means Morgan has taken pole position. A lot of people thought it would happen. It has indeed happened. And that's a stunning effort to go 4/10 clear of Jonas Zero. Great effort up into 3rd for him. Free Gloves in 4th. We got Game Freaker, who's going to start 5th. That's a good effort from Furry Lando up in 6th. Oogie in 7th. Bryn will start on medium tyres in 8th. That's an interesting one. Let's see how that pans out for him. I think he bailed out of his soft tyre lap. Well, he hadn't invalidated it, so I wonder if he thought he preferred to start on the medium tyres. Interesting strategy, but nevertheless, it is Morgan who's on pole and the 2 racing points, putting up a very good show as they try to close in on Ferrari, who are the current constructors leaders. Marcus went from 9th right at the death. Tom AJ completes the top 10. Outside of the top 10, we've got Dimsky in 11th, Tim Mats in 12th, TB Sen in 13th, Prez in 14th, Powdy 15th, and a no time for Bando Biz, Hulkenberger or Paco Suarez at the back. Should be an interesting race ahead, but can anyone stop Morgan? That pace in qualifying was absolutely frightening, and it's going to take some stopping, I reckon, if anyone's going to take the win this evening other than him. And for Felix, it's a nightmare scenario. The championship leader, who isn't here this evening, sees his main 2 rivals in the championship pop it on the front row in qualifying. That's not what he would have wanted. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the race. This is a massive race for some of these guys. Can't forget the likes of Free Gloves and Tim Mats as well, who are still in championship contention themselves if they can pick up some big points here tonight. That's going to be tough for Tim Mats, who starts outside the top 10. And we're just moments away here from the formation lap. Morgan will know this is a real opportunity for him. Strategy will be key here tonight as well. The undercut is very powerful, so if you are stuck behind another driver and you can't get past, the undercut is a very viable option. So expect to see some strategies take place that could influence the result of the race. And of course, with it being a street circuit, a safety car or 2 is definitely not out of the question. In fact, it's actually worth to point out that Singapore is the only circuit that since its debut has had a safety car in every race that has taken place at it, or every F1 race that's taken place at it. So from that sense of things, I'd be shocked if we go 31 laps without one here tonight. Let's have a look, see what tyres those outside the top 10 have gone with. Well, absolute clear strategy there. Everyone outside the top 10 has opted for the medium tyre, and of course Bryn qualified on mediums in 8th, so he starts on them as well. So medium tyre is the choice of starting tyre for those that have got the choice, and we'll see how that plays out for them. The likes of Marcus and Tom could do with getting past Bryn at the start, I suspect, otherwise Bryn on those medium tyres could be quite a threat later on. Morgan's shown he's got the pace in qualifying, but 31 laps of this Marina Bay street circuit, that is another question entirely. This is such a test of endurance. Even at a 50% distance, this is still going to be the longest Grand Prix that we run. Just due to the fact that it is ultimately a very long lap, and you've got 31 laps of them to do. So this is going to be a real test of concentration for some of these drivers, and we've seen plenty of mistakes in qualifying, so be interesting to see how they cope over the race distance, particularly the final stint of the Grand Prix. Could be a real test of fatigue among some of the drivers. Morgan's got both racing points behind him. It'll be interesting to see how Zero approaches any sort of battle with his teammate. Of course, Jonas is realistically the only racing point driver in championship contention. So, will his teammate take that into consideration, or will it still be very much no team orders applied at racing point? Free Gloves in 4th, he's in a good position as well. We've seen, although he's never done too well in qualifying, although tonight is an exception, his race pace and strategies usually put him into play as Morgan winds it up at the front of the grid. You can see there the last few cars lining up. Paco Suarez taking his spot right at the back. And when he does, we'll be all set and ready to go here. The 31 laps of Singapore. The lights are illuminating, and when they go out, let battle commence here at Singapore. Looks like a fairly decent start from the top two as they race down into turn 1. Morgan's got away beautifully, but further behind they're going 4 abreast into the corner, and it's Free Gloves who looks like he's grabbed second place there. It is, and Ferry Lando's up to 4th. Jonas is down to 4th. Both racing points have had a shocking start. I don't believe it, after all the great effort they put in qualifying, they've not had the start they would have wanted, as Jonas looks down the outside of Ferry Lando. Looks like there's a yellow flag. Dimsky, I think, has gone off further down the field as Jonas goes right round the outside of Ferry Lando. This would be a brilliant move if he pulls it off. They're still going alongside each other. This is a beautiful helicopter shot here as the Racing Point loses the back end and Jonas has to slot him behind. He couldn't get the move done. In fact, Game Freaker now is looking at a potential move down the inside, but he can't get it done either. But Jonas there didn't get a start he wanted, was looking to recover it and couldn't do so as Bryn makes a dive down the inside of Game Freaker. Look at Bryn on the medium tyre. He is absolutely charging at the start of this race, already up to 6th place. And he's looking to make hay while the sun shines here. Oh, and Zero goes very wide there and was lucky not to avoid contact with a wall as he also looks to recover. Of course, he started up in 3rd and has already dropped to 7th place. So positions definitely need to be gained for him. Oogie has dropped way down, so I don't know what's happened to Oogie. Or you can see there, that looks like damage on Powdy's front wing, and Dimsky has got a lot of damage. He's going to be straight in the pits. But Morgan completes lap 1. The top two, Morgan and Free Gloves, have got away somewhat here, as Ferry Lando and Jonas, I believe, are doing battle here. Ferry Lando still looking to defend from that Racing Point driver. And we've got Marcus in the pits, so he's collected damage on the first lap, as has Oogie, as has Dimsky. And look at this, Jonas again going for it around the outside at the end of the straight. This is going to be a brave move. Oh, and Ferry Lando, having none of it, pushes him slightly wide, and he has to slot him behind once again. And I think he knows Jonas needs to get a move on with this, because the top two are just disappearing up the road while he's caught behind the McLaren. You can see the train of cars that's developing behind Ferry Lando at the moment, but he won't be concerned about that. He's just running his own race right now. But it's not doing any good for Jonas, who nearly locks up into the back of him into the hairpin. Such an easy thing to do at that part of the track when you are so closely bunched up. But that's going to put Jonas under potential threat from Game Freaker, but he holds him off on this occasion. Of course, the gaps right now are not correct. They will still sort themselves out shortly. I can assure you the top two are a lot further down the road than Jonas, than what it says there, and that's not good news for any of these group, particularly the likes of Jonas. But Bryn, though, what a start from him, up 2 places on the mediums. He's absolutely flying, and Ferry Lando's already got a penalty. That's a huge blow for him, and he's already 4 seconds off the race leader as Morgan looks to stretch it ahead of Free Gloves. And this is the main battle on track right now. We've got Prez and Paco Suarez, I believe that is, going side by side. And it looks like Prez has got that place up to P12. So fighting going on between those two. What can Jonas do? He's in overtake mode. He's going to the outside line again. This is just a carbon copy of the previous 2 laps, and it goes exactly the same way. And this time Jonas, I believe, has got damage. Marcus is out the race. Marcus has... We've got a virtual safety car. We've got a virtual safety car. Marcus, I think, has crashed out of turn 23. The final corner. And that's his race over. It's a disaster for Mercedes with Dimsky running towards the back as well. But I think Jonas has damage on the racing point. He clipped the back of Furry Lando there. He's been trying that same move for a few laps now, and again Furry Lando shut the door on him, but this time there was contact between the pair, and it was kind of inevitable that it might end up like that. It's all about now just making sure you don't exceed the delta. The last thing you can afford is a penalty. And DRS is enabled, and we're back underway again. Everyone looks like they've dealt with it pretty well, but Jonas has got clear damage here on that side of his front wing, and look, you can see the lack of downforce. I suspect we will see him in the pits at the end of this lap, and he knows, as the reigning F7 champion, that could be a pivotal moment in the championship for him. Yep, he goes into the pits. That's going to cost him dear. He's going to need to try and salvage whatever he can from this race now, but he sees Morgan and Free Gloves in the top 2 positions. He knows just how important that mistake could well afford to be, as TB Sen has got past Zero. I think Zero might have been sleeping somewhat there. Now he's under pressure from Tim Mats as well. Around the outside, this will be a brave move if he can make it stick. And he has done. Fair play. Has Zero got some damage as well on the other racing point, I wonder, because he's slipping down the order. It doesn't look like he has. He's just struggling for pace as Bando Biz now goes past him as well. So a real disastrous lap here for the 2 racing point drivers, and they are losing time hand over fist. Jonas is out on hard tyres. He'll try and get us as deep into the race as he can. And Vapor Zero just seems to be losing positions here. Still, the Furry Lando cannot shake off the car behind him, except this time it's Game Freaker in the Renault. And I wonder how he will play this one. He's got Bryn just behind him as well. You can see the top 2 are already so far in front. And there's quite an incredible gap to have pulled out so early on in the race. But for these guys, for the likes of the 2 Red Bulls, TV Sen and Bando Biz, to be running at such good pace in so high positions on those medium tyres is a real plus side for them. And I believe, is that Paco Suarez who's gone off? It is, yeah, Paco Suarez has gone off. That looks like, I think, around turn 10. And I think he might have some damage on that Williams. It's all gone wrong for him. Vapor Zero's in the pits. So is Game Freaker though. So Game Freaker, he's not got any damage, but just wants to get away from that Renault. Oh, sorry, that McLaren. Obviously holding up those cars, and obviously considering that it's worth just pitting. It looks like Vapor Zero may have had a nose change. Not too sure on that one, but Jonas. Yeah, he must have had a nose change because Jonas is going to get in front of him. And that's crucial for Jonas's race that he runs in clear air now. As Zero rejoins just behind Oogie, who himself had to pit early on. And Bryn, I didn't see it unfortunately, but Bryn has got past Furry Lando and is up into 3rd place. So on those medium tyres, he's absolutely flying. And looks like Paco's got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I wouldn't be surprised if he's about to retire from the race on that one, because his race is going from bad to worse as TB Sen threatens to go past Furry Lando as well. He's not enjoying the grip he's got in the race here, and surely TB Sen will have the move down the inside. He does indeed. I don't really know what Furry Lando is doing there, sticking his nose back up the inside, but thankfully they all get out of it in one piece, and TB Sen has made the move stick, and Furry Lando just seems to be heading backwards in this race so far. I have to say though, at the front, Free Gloves is not being shaken off by Morgan, staying the gap at 1.2 seconds, with Bryn starting to catch a pair of them. So I wonder if Morgan's just struggling for pace a little bit of this part of the race. Let's go on board with Tim Matzer, who is trying to get past Lando. Seems like every corner we're seeing a car go side by side with a McLaren. Is that Bando Biz potentially looking to take advantage? As Tim Matz doesn't use his overtake, is he going to dive down the inside? He's thinking about it, but if anything, he's got to look in his mirrors because Bando Biz is potentially looking going to move in the AlphaTauri, but there is no way through on that occasion. Hulkenberg and Powdy are battling for 9th as well. Just saw that in the background. I think Powdy had initially got past the Renault, but Hulk has fought back and taken the position. Look at this massive train of cars here. There's no question about it. Lando is holding up all these group of cars right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the pits in the next lap or so. As Tim Matz goes to the outside line, but there's going to be no way through there. Lando parks his car on the apex, and now Bando Biz is going to take full advantage of that, and he's going to try and take 2 in 1 go as he goes down the inside of Lando. They give each other the room. Is Bando Biz going to pull that off? He is. What a double overtake that is for the AlphaTauri. That was sensational stuff. And Morgan pits. So Morgan, the race leader, is in the pits. But I have to say, that was absolutely superb from Bando Biz. And you can see how much he's benefited from it. As Tim Matz and Perez, they got to go 3 wide here into turn 1. I believe they are. This is not going to end well. Oh, and Perez has gone round. It was just unfortunate, really, as Hulkenberg has crashed out. Has he crashed out? He might have retired in the pits, actually. I think he's retired in the pits. Either way, that's the end of Hulkenberg's race, but Perez there went for a gap and it ultimately just closed. I think he's got away with that damage, but he's had a spin, which will cost him time, and Tim Matz did get past Lando in the end. Morgan rejoins in some nice clear air, just in front, only just in front of Game Freaker though. So Morgan definitely lost some time there. I wonder if he picked up any damage himself, because he didn't look to have the most amazing pace at the front. Not to maybe what we would have expected. Having said that, I think the soft tyres are just really going off. You can see Brid now is only 2 seconds behind Free Gloves and catching him at a fast rate of knots. So expect to see Free Gloves in the pits this lap, because those on soft tyres have got no grip left. And speaking of no grip left, here is the McLaren of Lando, who's this time fending off Powdy in the Alfa Romeo. As Paco does the fastest lap, Free Gloves, as expected, is into the pit lane. But he's going to probably come out behind Game Freaker now, if I had to guess, and Lando does indeed pit. Not too much surprise there, but I'm very interested to see here where Free Gloves rejoins in reference to Game Freaker. Free Gloves goes into hard tyres. I think he'll be looking to get those to the end, most likely. Let's have a look as they come out of the pits. Free Gloves, yep, Game Freaker has jumped Free Gloves in the pits, so that extra lap that Free Gloves stayed out has cost him track position. But on hard tyres, Morgan and Free Gloves will be looking to run some long stints now. And maybe that extra lap will pay dividends later on, we'll have to wait and see, but we're just seeing again how powerful the undercut is around this track. As we've got a battle here, and this is a battle very much of 2 drivers on the same strategy. 2 medium tyre starters, TV Sen and Bando Biz, currently running in the top 3, are very close together on track, although Bando Biz's run through the hairpin will not have helped him one bit there. It gives the Ferrari that little bit of breathing space, but he's got a lot of ERS saved in comparison to the Ferrari in front of him, so if he can get a good run and get into position, he'll be able to use a lot of overtake to make the move stick. We've got a virtual safety car. I'm not too sure as to why that is. I'm just trying to have a look on the circuit map, see if there's anything untoward with that. We've got Paco in the pits, but other than that, I'm not really too sure. I wonder if it was some contact Paco had. Brin's in the pits. So all the medium tyre runners are opting to pit now. under the virtual safety car and go on to hards. That's a good little call, that, from those drivers. I wasn't too sure about it at first, but of course now they can try and run hards to the end, and they've got the advantage of pitting under the VSC, which will gain them time. Here we go then. Where's Bryn going to join out? Is he going to rejoin out in front of Morgan? This is going to be super close. Morgan's just in front, and Bryn is going to rejoin just in front of Game Freaker. So that has worked out beautifully for Bryn now. He's now provisionally P2. And Bando Biz has rejoined just in front of Jonis, I believe. So that has worked out beautifully for those guys who took advantage of the VSC. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. What's happened there? Looks like Tim Mats might have had an issue that he's just recovered from. I wonder if there's some contact between him and Ferdinando. But as for Bryn now, he's on the same strategy pretty much as the guys around him, with the exception of Game Freaker. And he's right with the race leader, and we've seen already just how quick he was. So what can he do here against Morgan? He could put the Ferrari driver under significant pressure as this race develops. Of course, he got the real bonus of the benefit of the VSC, because it ended just as he exited the pits, whereas other guys who pitted under a VSC wouldn't have got quite the same level of advantage. So that worked out beautifully for him, and all of a sudden we have a real race on at the front here, because Morgan will not have this all his own way, that's for sure. I don't know how old that question was in the chat. Tim Matt says a decent amount of VRS left, just over 40%. But looks like that contact, if it was contact with Fernando, may have impacted his race. Unfortunately, I only saw the aftermath of it as you were. Got a yellow flag in Sector 3. What's that all about? Not too sure on that one. We've got the top two closing each other down. We've got Bryn starting to come very quickly at Morgan. And I reckon Bryn senses the opportunity here for a second win in 2 races for him after a brilliant win in Russia last week. He's just looking like a man on a mission right now. And what can Morgan do here? He's obviously got pole led since the start. He's had Friegel's putting him under some pressure, but this is definitely the most amount of pressure he'll have felt up to now. Pretty much looking at it now, then you've got Free Gloves running what probably will be third, because Game Freaker will surely have to stop again. Tom AJ's in not a bad position, but he's on mediums. Bando Biz has benefited for sure. Tiernar Jonis has got the oldest hard tyres on. He's not in a particularly great position either. So definitely right now, Morgan, Free Gloves and Bryn are probably the ones gaining the most in the championship, with Jonis playing catch up just a little bit. Bryn just sitting behind the Ferrari right now. Game Freaker a little further behind, and Free Gloves has drifted away somewhat, but it's still in contention. Let's go with a battle for the lead, because it looks like Prenz is about to launch an attack on Powdy, it would seem. He's using his overtake, not that much of it considering he does have a lot of it available to him. Is he going to go for the move here? No, he sticks behind Powdy for now. So I think he did have an opportunity there to take the lead, but he wasn't too keen to use his overtake mode on that occasion. We've got Bryn still hounding the back of Morgan. Game Freak is sort of starting to drop off this pair just that little bit. He'll stick very close to the back of that Ferrari. You wonder if he can get the ideal run onto out of turn 5 up to turn 6. He may have a potential look at getting into the lead of this race. We've got a virtual safety car though, and again not too certain as to why. trying to have a look. It's Paco Suarez who's lost his front wing. So Paco Suarez having a shocking race. He's already a lap down and now he's lost his nose as well. And Podium Prens can use this to their advantage and get a pit stop out of the way here. So this isn't too bad for these two. And that will help them back just that little bit in terms of damage limitation, in terms of how much time they would lose. They are still going to drop down quite significantly though. Powdy goes for medium tyre. Well, of course, actually no, has he Powdy not changed tyres yet? Let's have a look. Oh, Paco has decided to retire. Now, Powdy's gone for mediums again. That means he's going to have to stop one more time because he's already run a set of mediums already. So that's not going to work too well in terms of strategy as he rejoins just in front of Tim Matson, the Red Bull. Not too sure about that from Powdy personally. I wonder if he didn't have time to change the tyres before he pitted. That definitely puts Prens in a better place, but they are still running towards the tail end of the points. But yeah, that's not helped Powdy's strategy one bit, and he will have to stop again. Brin's still right behind the race leader. We'll see what he can do. He's quite happy to sit in behind Morgan at the moment. Both got similar levels of ERS available to them. They're continuing to just slowly drop Game Freaker behind them. With Free Gloves lapping around Morgan's pace, a little bit slower maybe. As Zero looks like he's made a move, he has indeed, goes up to 8th past TB Sen, who tries to have a look back but can't make it stick. Of course, TB Sen will be thinking in terms of a long game, he's probably in a better position tyre wise, so it's not too much of a blow to lose that position, and maybe he can follow the Racing Point and that brings him closer up, in fact, to a Racing Point driver's teammate in Jonas, who is having a bit of a lonely race out there at the moment, as Zero actually now picks up a penalty which won't do him any favours, and I'm sure TB Sen will not mind seeing that come up on the screen, as Brin again remains close to Morgan but just can't get close to have a run on him. Slowly but surely, Game Freaker is dropping into the clutches of Free Gloves. And these two, Morgan probably didn't expect to see Brin right up to him at this stage of the race. The VSC definitely helped Brin, no question about it, but nevertheless, he's done a really good job. His start was excellent, and his pace when he's been in clear air has been really strong. And if he had have put in a lap on softs in qualifying, you get the feeling he could have been right up there, but I think it was a tactical point. He didn't want to start on soft tyres, and ultimately that has brought him into play, so you could say it has worked out for him. There's no doubt his pace right now, and he's going to be a significant threat wherever we go to race in the next few weeks of F7, because he just, you know, he was super quick at Russia and he's super quick here as well, so you know, Russia was definitely not just a one-off. Brin has definitely found something that has brought him right to the front of this pack. We've got TNR Jonas and Bando Biz. Bando Biz is, what's happened to him? Looks like he's just recovered. He's now left the session, so I don't know what happened there to him, but he's dropped down position. I don't know if he's left or if he's had connection issues, but either way, that has really, Bando Biz was having a good race, and that has definitely put pay to that. These two continue to follow very closely to each other. Got Furry Lando, who might look at a move here on Oogie, but he does not. Bando Biz does rejoin, so that's good news. And he should be able to take control of his car just as he's about to be overtaken by these two guys. So he could do re-getting. Oh, and Furry Lando goes for a move down the inside of Oogie. That was a little bit ambitious, I have to say. And in the end, there was no room left, and he has to stay slotting behind for now. Quite an unusual overtaking spot, that. as Bando Biz is still not in control of his car and does lose out a few more places. It looks like he's just taking control now, which is a real shame because he will not like where he's ended up. He's now, because look at that, he's ended up really where he doesn't want to be. If he'd have taken control before those guys got past him, he would have been in a good position, but now he's got some fighting through to do. And we've already seen Lando and Ugi are not afraid to get their elbows out. As these two continue to pound round at the front. Brin's still not seeming like he's in close enough order to have a go. He hasn't got much overtake left, so he could maybe perhaps do with just saving his overtake for a lap or two and then going for an attack, but he's still very much in close proximity to get a win here, and it's really looking like it's between these two to win here tonight. No one else seems able to keep up with them. Free Gloves has dropped back just that little bit. Let's keep an eye on this very close battle for P9, which Ugi's currently leading. Quite an odd thing to see in this race, but it's actually Lando on the offensive. We've seen a lot of this race he's been defending when he was running higher up, but now he's got to try and get past Ugi, with Bando Biz just behind him as well. In fact, Bando Biz looking to make a move, but not close enough, as Prenz and even Tim Matt's starting to close in on this group of cars. So this is going to become a real train of cars here towards the back end of the points. And expect some overtakes and potential carnage to happen there, because without Corsa all running, it's bound to get pretty physical in the next few laps. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. That looks like Tim Matt has got an issue. Let's try and go on board with him to see what's happened. Oh, look, he's got clear damage on the left-hand side of that front wing, and Tim Matz will have to go into the pits with that. Looks like through the far sector he's had an issue, maybe around turns 15, 16, and in he goes into the pits, and that is unfortunate for him. That's going to make it really difficult to come back in this one, unfortunately. Red Bulls did have to double stack in the pits, and that did affect Tim Matz for sure more than his teammates, and since then he just hasn't been able to recover since he lost that track position. He's now going on to soft tyres and see what he can do. Maybe potentially go for a fastest lap, who knows. Brin's still right behind Morgan. I suspect we're going to have a battle soon for P3 as well, because Free Gloves is getting ever closer to the back of Game Freaker. It looks to me like Vapor Zero is getting close to his teammates as well. TNR John is just not quite enjoying the Singapore circuit at the moment. In terms of penalties, let's have a quick look, see how that's developing. So Furry, Lando and Zero and Dimsky have already got 2 penalties each, which isn't going to do them any favours at all. There is a bit of field spread here though, so it might not cost them as much as it would do in other tracks. It just depends what happens later on, if there's any safety cars or whatnot. We've had a couple of VSCs, but no full safety car as of yet. As Furry Lando looks like he's going for a move on Bando Biz. In fact, no, Bando Biz is actually going for a move on Furry Lando, and he's done it. So Bando Biz up into 10th place. Furry Lando trying to come back at the Alpha Tower here, and he can't do so. I think he's going to try and go into overtake mode there and try and use it all up to come back at the Alpha Tower. He's going to go up the inside. Bando Biz tries to leave him room, but there's contact between the pair of them, and Bando Biz goes round. Oh, and Bando Biz he's had a lot of bad luck already with the disconnection, and that's just gone from bad to worse for him. Lando and Bando Biz come together. I'd have to see another angle or two of that really to know if anyone was at fault there, but nevertheless it doesn't change the fact that that further impacts on Bando Biz's race and drops him down to 13th now, and he could have been looking at a top 5 finish before the disconnection, so he's really not had the best of luck tonight. We've got Free Gloves, who is, as I predicted, right on the back now of Game Freaker. I suspect Game Freaker might not fight this too hard. Free Gloves has got a good opportunity here to get himself up into 3rd place. A position that he looks pretty solid for at the moment, all things being said. And he's in overtake. He wants to get this move done very quickly. I don't blame him. Game Freaker doesn't defend on the inside. Free Gloves has the move done very easily. Actually locks up a little bit into the corner, struggled to get slowed down, but he's got the move done. And as I suspected, Game Freaker really didn't feel the need to fight that one too much. I think they're on different strategies at this point of the race. And it is Free Gloves that moves up into 3rd as Prenz looks like he's making a move on Furry Lando. We've always seen it go wrong between Furry Lando and one Alpha Tauri. There's potential contact between this pair as well. Bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. Prenz looking for the inside into turn 9, and he's done it. But Prenz has made the move stick. Furry Lando's looking like he wants to come back at him into this corner though, and that really wasn't any room for that. So insensibly in the end, I ultimately backed out in the end, and Prenz has the position and moves up into 11th place. These pair just continue on their way here as we enter lap 19. Still Bryn. Oh, we've got... What's happened here? Prenz has gone round. Looks like Prenz and Furry Lando may have had contact here or something, because all of a sudden these pair have dropped down to P12 and P13. For one reason or another, Furry Lando goes into the wall. And will that be a safety car? That's a crash at a very dangerous point of the track. And it is a safety car. The Furry Lando's race ends in spectacular fashion. And Bando Biz uses the opportunity to pit. Well, I have to say, he was involved in a lot of drama in that race, Furry Lando, and ultimately it's ended in disappointment for him. And this gives the opportunity here for the Alpha Tauri pair to put on some fresh medium tyres and really attack these last 12 laps of the race. And this does give an opportunity for not just the Alpha Tauris, but maybe Tim Mats and Dimsky to come back into this race now, because everyone will bunch up under the safety car. Tim Mats decides not to pit. Obviously happy with those soft tyres, but will they get to the end? That's going to be the key thing. Let's go back with the leading pair. They're just coming up to the start-finish straight now. I'll be interested to see what they do. Can't imagine they'll pit. Oh, Morgan. Oh, he sort of ducked and dived, but I don't think he was fooling Bryn on that one. And they both stay out. We are under safety car conditions here on lap 20. Due to a crash for Furry Lando going straight into the wall. Round turn number 18. After contact potentially between him and Prenz. That's one we'd have to wait and see as Jonas and the two... Wow, this is interesting. Racing points are stacking in the pits. Not too sure about that one personally. Oh, Jonas needs a new front wing. Well, he's kind of had to pit. If Vapor Zero, unless Vapor Zero has damage as well, will there be a change of his front wing too, I wonder? I'd love to get a better angle than this. Don't think so, but Jonas, where does Jonas rejoin? He rejoins just in front of Oogie into 8th place. Oogie's in the pits anyway. Bando Biz is up to 9th now. And is that queuing in the pits going to cost Zero another position perhaps? No, he rejoins in 11th. So really everyone from 8th place has opted to pit. Powdy in 7th has quite new medium tyres, like newer than a lot of us around him. So that will benefit him. But all the top 6 have chosen to stay out on what are quite worn, especially in Game Freaker and Tom AJ's case, quite worn medium tyres. I wonder if we'll see them in at the end of this lap potentially, because I don't think that'd be a good strategy to run to the end of a race. For those on hard tyres, it's not so bad, but for Game Freaker and Tom AJ, that's going to be a push. Well, Morgan's dealt with the pressure from Bryn behind. All the way through. Tim Mats has pitted for medium tyres. A wise move, I suspect. Still nothing, I don't think, from... Oh, wait a minute, we've got Game Freaker in the pits. Tom AJ stays out, but Game Freaker pits. I think that's a sensible move, but he's going to lose a lot of positions because of it. Powdy pits. Yeah, he only had 7-lap-old medium tyres on. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I'm very surprised to see that Game Freaker's gone on to intermediates. Is it raining out there? I don't think it is. What on earth's happened there? Oh no, Powdy's on intermediates as well, so maybe it is starting to rain out there. It'd be great if I could go on board, but for some reason it doesn't want to let me. Yeah, it is starting to rain, so that's come out of nowhere, really. I wasn't even thinking about the weather, I've got to be honest. But it started to rain, and those drivers near the back of the field have gone for intermediate tyres. Could that be an absolutely inspired move? Tim Mats has stayed out, so he's decided he doesn't want to have intermediates on. This is going to be a real interesting strategy call here, and if it does work out for these guys, it could be race winning. Particularly Game Freaker and Powdy, who will catch up to the pack, no question about it. Let's go on board with Game Freaker and see how he's getting on. The track will not be wet enough yet, that's for sure. So for now, it's just about a case of getting it round to the back of the pack, which he has done. I thought I saw a few spots of rain, but I just thought my eyes were deceiving me. It's definitely raining, but I say it won't be ready for inters yet, no way. So this is a very big gamble, particularly for Game Freaker, who of course, let's not forget, was running in a very strong position. He was up in 4th place. He might explain why he was running the medium tyres potentially as well, because he was banking on the rain later on. It did seem quite a bizarre strategy for the likes of him and Tom AJ. What's Tom AJ going to do, I wonder? He's another one that could potentially pit. And if they don't have to pit for rain, it's just been pointed out to me, Jonas is in a good position, and indeed he is. Of course, he's got fresh medium tyres on, and he's only got 5 cars in front of him, so things could fall into place yet for him too. It's a very tough race to call here. You've got such a variance in strategies, and TB Sen pits. TB Sen and Oogie pit. Are they going for intermediates as well, I wonder? Yep, TB Sen is in for intermediates. Oogie, I'm assuming he's in for intermediates too. This is such a tough race to call now. Oogie will drop to the back. TB Sen will drop all the way down to 13th. Game Freaker though, well, he's up to 8th place now, so either this is all going to come down to how quickly the track wets up, and you can already see it is starting to have an effect. The track, wonder if it is to start get a bit slippery out there for the drivers. It definitely looks like the conditions are deteriorating. Tell you what, for those that have pitted for intermediates, this could just be this could be an absolute brainwave here. This race has come alive in the latter stages, and who is going to take the win? I really have no idea. You've got so many different things happening out there. You've got the top four all on quite old tyres. You've then got a few drivers on fresh mediums, and then you've got others on intermediates. It really is difficult to call which way this is going to go. But I can't help feeling those that have stayed out on really old tyres are effectively the most vulnerable here. All of a sudden, Morgan and Bryn, who looked like they were battling for this race win, suddenly look like they may have just got this very wrong. Expect to see the safety car in this lap. Indeed it is. And this is really going to be the key here. What are the conditions like when we get back underway? Tim Matt stayed out on mediums, but he's behind some intermediate runners, so that's going to be interesting at the restart to see what sort of grip he's got compared to those around him. Let's have a look. And we're about to get back underway here. I'm going to keep a close eye on Tim Matt, see what he's going to be going up to around those intermediate runners, but Morgan and Bryn and Free Gloves lead the way here. It's a trip into the unknown, the final 9 laps of this Singapore Grand Prix. Morgan is really back in the pack up here. This is, I've got to say, this is a bit surprising. We're back underway now. And what sort of conditions are going to be awaiting these drivers when they get back underway? It looks to me, Game Freak is absolutely flying. He's already passed 2 people. Oh no, because Tom and Bando Biz have pitted. That would explain why. As Game Freaker goes charging into turn 1, Tim Mats has gone past one of the intermediate runners in Parody, so he's trying to make up positions while he can. Vapor Zero's past TNR Jonis, who's dropping positions. If anything, not what I expected from him. And then we got Bryn for the race lead. Bryn's going past Morgan on the restart. I think he's got it. He has indeed. Nothing that Morgan could do. Bryn takes the race lead away from him. And Morgan, if anything, looks like he's really struggling here now the conditions have changed. But look at Game Freak, he's now past Jonis as well. Has Jonis got damage? I think Jonis might have some damage on his racing point. Yeah, it looks like he's got some wing damage on the right hand side, and it's really affecting him as Tim Mats goes flying past. So it's all gone wrong for Jonis. Looks like he might have a great chance once we got back underway with the fresh mediums, but damage is ultimately cost him dear here. Bryn's got a penalty. That could be costings. He tries to pull away from Morgan. Game Freaker's pace on the intermediate, so he's definitely coming into its own now. And he's going to take P3 away from Vapor Zero, and on intermediates, he is absolutely charging. Surely everyone's going to have to pit. And oh, what's happened there? Jonis has gone round. It's absolute carnage further down the field. What on earth is going on? It's so difficult to keep up with everything. They're all going so close further down the field. Looks like TB Sen and Dimsky, they're just like a car park going around this final sector. I can't believe what I'm seeing here. But those on dry tyres are really starting to struggle. The conditions have worsened. You can see they're all heading to the pits, those that are on dries. There's nothing that they can do, and Game Freaker takes the lead of the race. They're all in the pits now, so Game Freaker leads. Prens is second and Powdy's third, and look at this. They're all fighting like crazy further down as Dimsky suddenly, oh, and he's going to come out. Ugi's going down the inside of Dimsky. That was a brave move into turn 3. And they're still alongside each other on the exit. Who's going to have a better run into turn 5? It's looking like Ugi's got the move done, so well done to him. And all of a sudden, look at that. Bryn's in 9. Morgan's in 11. It's all gone wrong for those top 2. All the guys that were near the front have ultimately just got it all wrong in terms of the strategy. And Tim Matt's worse for him. He's come out on dries. Oh, that's not going to do him any favours at all. And he's spun straight coming out of the pits. Oh, and his race is just, if everything could have gone wrong, it has gone wrong. But Game Freaker, I thought he was a bit mad when I saw him pit for Inters. It turns out that strategy call has probably just won him this race. He's got a comfortable lead here. And we've got a yellow flag in sector 1. That's Tim Mats just trying to keep it on the road. I can't imagine he meant to pit for medium tyres. He was already on dries, of course. As you can see there, Prez is making a bit of a break for it in second. Powdy's got a few cars behind him here. Battling for the final podium position. I can't believe what I'm seeing here, and I tell you what, one driver who will be, if he does see the, well, either he's watching this or he sees the result of this, who will have a massive smile on his face will be Felix, because he'll see his championship rivals currently just scrambling to get any points out of this at all. Literally 3 gloves Tim Match, Jonas and Morgan, the 4 drivers closest to him in the championship, are the 4 drivers outside the points here. It literally couldn't have gone any better for him, and it's looking oh so good for Game Freak, and a Belgian driver, probably used to this kind of weather if he lives anywhere near Spa, and he's putting it to good use tonight with that call that he made. It looks like TB Sen is looking at a potential move here past Powdy, but he's not going to be close enough on this occasion. What about Dimsky further behind, potentially looking at a move on Oogie, but can't make it stick? And to anyone who is just tuning in, I can promise you, the top 3 earlier in this about 5-10 laps ago was Morgan, Bryn and Free Gloves. It's absolute, the weather has put pay to this race, and those that stayed out on slicks and didn't pit under the safety car for Inters have lost out hugely. And out of nowhere, Game Freaker leads this race, Prenz in second and Powdy third. Oh, and look at that, that's a brave move down the inside. And he had to back out of it in the end. It looks like TB7 was looking for a move past Powdy but couldn't make it stick. Further behind, Dimsky again looking for a move on Oogie, but can't make that one stick either. Conditions obviously quite tough out there, and a few drivers obviously feeling a lot more confident than some of the others, and it's showing really. Game Freak is still building up his lead. Prenz has broken away from this group of cars. Of course, this group of cars can afford to battle though, because they've got a decent lead over Tom AJ, who's currently running 7. Oh, and look how close Dimsky ran to the wall there. That was brave. That's brave enough in dry conditions, let alone the wet conditions. That was really brave stuff indeed. Of course, Powdy doesn't have a penalty, so if he can keep these guys behind him, he has got a net podium out of this, which would be a great recovery drive. Really, because he was looking at one point like he was struggling in the tail end of the points. You can see Prenz just building his gap further up the road. What can TB Sen do here? He knows he needs to try and get past Powdy if he can, but at the moment he just cannot do it. And if anything, he's got to be careful he doesn't fall into the clutches of those behind him either. Crazy things have happened in this race. It really has turned completely around. And what will be going through? Jonas is out of the race. He has come into the pits and has retired. So the reigning champion from F7 will not be scoring any points here this evening. And I tell you what, that's a major blow to his title chances. I'm not quite sure when Felix does get back, but he'll quite believe what he's seeing here, because there's a very big chance that his championship lead will have had no deficit put into it at all. This is quite incredible, really. Morgan is 2 seconds, actually, just looking at it, because Morgan hasn't got a penalty. Morgan may just get a point or 2 here. But even still, that's nowhere near as bad as what it could have been, and what for a long time it was like it was going to be. These 4 still in very close proximity, but it looks like Oogie's just dropping back a little bit. Not by much, but enough that potentially he could come under more threat from Dimsky behind. Game Freak is just pulling further and further clear in front. He's really enjoying these conditions. Now 7.5 seconds clear, and he looks firmly set here for a race win, which would be a major boost to his confidence, of course. Game Freaker won the Constructors last season with Hulkenberger, but they've really struggled this time around. Game Freaker only has 12 points to his name in the championship, and his best result so far this season was the 6th place he got at France. He's a much better driver than that. So this will be a real big confidence boost for him. It hasn't been a season he would have liked, but this will definitely be the high point for him. Likewise, Powdy as well has only got 5 points to his name. Two drivers who scored a lot of points last season but have not had the joy this season at all, really. So it's this unpredictable race is definitely going to make a few people that have had miserable seasons very, very happy indeed, as TB Sen got a difficult run out of air, and Dimsky, who's actually got past Ugi, is now looking at the back of TB Sen. So Dimsky's making progress here. Ugi just dropping off ever so slightly, maybe not quite enjoying these conditions as much as those around him, but Dimsky's looking very quick indeed. In terms of penalties, he's got 6 seconds, so he needs really to just make as much ground as he can and just see where it puts him at the end of a race. So he's going to try and get through these cars and just ultimately to find a bit more pace in clear air. Has Prenz made a mistake, I wonder, though, because he's just dropped back a lot. Prenz is suddenly dropping back into Powdy's pocket a little bit here. No damage on the car. Slight mistake. Powdy, though, is just starting to pull clear, so I wonder if Powdy as well is upping his pace that little bit. Let's go on board with Dimsky. Ugi's got to be careful here. He could fall into the clutches of a few cars behind who are beginning to close in. TB Sen will have enough in hand around this corner. I'm surprised Dimsky didn't think about using his overtake there, because he was in good position. A big oversteer moment. You can see how tricky the conditions have become. And there's no doubt about it, Prenz is definitely dropping off into the clutches of Powdy. I'm not quite sure as to why, but he's no threat to Game Freaker at all, who can just cruise the last 3 laps home now. And Powdy may be sensing opportunity, but P2 is on the cards. Of course, Prenz, a recent induction into F7. It was only his first race last week for AlphaTauri, which he DNF'd unfortunately. So this is another driver who will be getting his best result of the season by some distance. But there's no doubt about it, Powdy's getting very close to the back here of the AlphaTauri, and definitely will think that P2 is there for the cars. He must have damage, Prenz, because he's just losing a lot of pace in general. It doesn't, like, he had a lot of pace earlier, but it just seems to have vanished. So it may be only slight damage, but whatever it is, he's definitely losing pace. As Dimsky looks for a move in the background on TV7, but oh, and he picks up another penalty. That's only going to harm his chances, sadly. Look at Powdy, but right behind. He's looking for a move on Prenz. Nearly contact between the pair. You can see how much, and everyone's just sort of bunching up together here. There's no doubt about it. Prenz is slowing this whole group of cars down. So he's definitely struggling right now. Powdy just can't seem to find a way through, and this is bringing the likes of Tom AJ, Bando Biz, and even Bryn into this train of cars. There's some points still on the table here for some drivers. If they can just continue to close in. We know Powdy's not the most aggressive driver on the grid, but you get the feeling here he needs to make a move sooner or later. Otherwise he'll be getting attacked himself, as Dimsky again just looks like he can't wait to get past that Ferrari. Tom AJ's now right on the back of his teammate Ugi. Game Freaker must be wondering what on earth's happening behind him, as he goes along his merry way. Tim Matz has retired in the pit lane, so he decided to call it a day. We're now down to just 12 drivers. Tim Matz obviously just sensing he was so far behind, it just wasn't going to work out for him today, as TV said, has a massive moment there at turn 21. Howdy needs to make a move soon. It's getting to that critical stage now, but he knows he can't just afford to sit behind AlphaTauri till the end. And you can see TVSN looking anywhere he can to try and maybe make a move. Bryn and Bando Biz are battling. Where's this come from? I thought Bryn was a couple of seconds behind last time I checked, but now Bryn is looking to make a move. And it looks like he's got the higher ground here on Bando Biz as he tries to salvage what he can out of this race. He knows it won't be the win that he hoped for, but he ducks down the inside. That's a lovely move. That's a really well done overtake from Bryn, up to 8th place, and that was really well calculated, and he looks like he could go on a late charge here while these group of cars are all trapped behind the AlphaTauri of Prenz, who just continues to do his own thing. But it is causing a huge train of cars behind him. Now got TV Sen looking like he's going to try and move on Powdy, and this is what I talked about. If Powdy doesn't get a move on, he's going to come under threat from behind, and that's exactly what's happening here. He's now going to have to defend from TV Sen, who in turn is going to have to defend from Dimsky as well. He's going for the move, there's no space there. Dimsky's now going to have a run on TV Sen, and the two Haas cars in the background are watching on. It looks like Bando Biz had a moment. Oogie down the inside of Dimsky, and he makes it stick. And Bando Biz looks like he might have collected up some damage there, because he's slipping down the order, so he's dropped down. As Bryn makes a... Tom AJ's gone round! Tom AJ's gone round. That may have been contact with Bryn there, but Tom AJ unfortunately has gone round. And that drops him down to just outside the points, and he's... Oh, well, I think he's just trying to destroy his car now, which I don't think is what you should be doing, but I mean, I suppose it is on the last lap, so there isn't going to be a safety car. We are on to the last lap, and Game Freaker just quietly minding his own business, to be honest. Probably won't have a clue what all the fuss is about. But he is on the final lap. Let's just see if anything else is going to unfold further down the field. Looks like Dimsky's very close to making a move back on Oogie, but not close enough. Bryn's right there as well, and you know he might try and move on this final lap of the race. You can see them all winding their way through this mid part of the lap for the final time. Again, TB Sen looking close behind Powdy. That's given Prenz a little bit of leeway now. As Powdy runs a little bit wide. Is TB Sen going to try and move? Powdy goes super defensive there. That's as defensive as you could ever hope to be. Of course, TB Sen knows he's going to drop down here. Oogie's on course for 4th place. As long as things stay as they are, Zero's closing up to the back of his train of cars as well. But let's give some time on the screen to Game Freaker. He's making his way around the final 2 corners now. What a performance he's put it on his intermediate tyres. Called it perfectly as to when to pit for them. And he takes a dominating win here at Singapore. Well done to him. His first win of this season. And a win that definitely puts him back on track. Fair play. Fully deserved a win. Called it perfectly under the safety car and just drove away there from the rest of the field. Prenz will take 2nd. It'll be a podium for Powdy across the line. Oogie will take 4th for some massive... Looks like Dimsky destroyed his car across the line. TB Sen in 5th. Bryn 6th. Bando Biz in 7th. Feels like Morgan took 8th. Dimsky might have been 9th, and I'm not sure who got the final point in the end. It might have been Zero. Driver of the day goes to Powdy. I mean, I'm going to have to disagree with the game. Powdy did a great job too, but Game Freaker for me deserves driver of the day. Absolutely brilliant performance. Called it perfectly as to when to pit for the intermediates. despite the fact he was in a strong position himself, so it was a risk doing it. But ultimately it's a risk that paid off very handsomely to take the win. All three drivers on the podium celebrating their first podiums of the season, let alone wins, second places and whatnot. Just shows what an unpredictable end to the race we had. And it means that Felix maintains the championship lead heading into next week when we are racing at Austin for the US Grand Prix. There you go, that's the full results there. Could be some stewards' decisions that change the results, but here they are. Game Freaker wins, Prenz in second, Powdy third, Oogie fourth, TB 7th, Bryn 6th, Bando Biz in 7th, Morgan 8th, Dimsky in 9th, and Zero is in 10th with 3 gloves. Sadly, after a really good performance from him, just missing out on the points. With all the rest of the drivers not finishing. Well, what a truly breathless end to the race that was. That was really fun to watch. The twists and turns that Singapore gave us. Massive well done to Game Freaker on the win. He is my driver of the day. Well done to the 2 podium finishers as well. Commiserations in part to Morgan and Bryn, who drove great races up to the rain, but ultimately were caught out by their decision to stay out. Sadly, on this occasion, I'm sure their time will come with the pace that they've shown. I'm sure they'll be back on the top step soon. But from me, I really hope you've enjoyed this race. I'll be back in the commentary box tomorrow for PSGL F4 at 7 PM. Be sure to join me for that. We've also got tiers F1 and to F6 running tomorrow, so there'll be a lot to watch tomorrow evening on the PlayStation side of PSGL. But from me, it's goodbye, and I'll catch you on the flip side.